Alright, so I've been doing this YouTube series for months and I have reviewed underrated films, good bad films, just bad films, but finally we've been able to scrape the bottom of the barrel and find a movie that I would consider to be one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen in my life.
Ho 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 ho, delightfully devilish, Seymour.
Yes everybody, welcome back to Delightfully Devilish, the show where we discuss films that all at once meet the criteria of being the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm your host Jukebox Harry, and today we are looking at the film that Bill Cosby did not want you to see. And no, it's not a video of him molesting someone. Leonard Part 6 is a 1987 spy comedy film starring, written, and produced by notorious rapist Bill Cosby. It was a phenomenal failure at box office, partially due to the fact that Bill Cosby actually came out and told people not to waste their money going to see it. This was a movie that he starred in that he was so ashamed of that he was like, hey, don't go see this movie. Think about that for a second. He didn't do that with Ghost Dad, and that was also considered one of the worst comedy films of all time. He did that with this movie, so that means that Leonard Part 6 has to be that much worse than the abomination that was Ghost Dad. Bill Cosby was a huge TV star, but he made very few films as a leading man, and two of them landed on a list of the worst movies of all time. But I honestly did not think that Leonard Part 6 could actually be worse than Ghost Dad. Bill Cosby has made himself a very easy target, not only because he's an inhumane monster who I have no shame in insulting and degrading to the very limit, but simply because of the fact that he just keeps on appearing in bad movies. Even the films where he had small roles like Meteor Man and Jack, they both sucked. Interestingly enough, Jack was actually directed by Francis Ford Coppola, who spent a lot of money protecting a convicted pedophile in court. That's a true story, look into Victor Salva. Anyway, let's get into the film. Leonard Part 6 starts with a whole bunch of drawings of cartoon animals, none of which are amusing in the slightest. It instantly reminded me of The Master of Disguise, which tried using cartoon gags in the intro. And that's another movie that frequently lands on the list of worst films of all time. It's a telltale sign of how little material a film has when it relies on gimmicky opening credits to make you laugh, even though that's inevitably not going to happen. And to add to it, the music in this scene is just jarring. Then the film actually starts with Bill Cosby jumping a tankmobile over a hill in slow motion, then cuts to him ballet dancing, and then riding an ostrich off a building. Why would you open with that? These are very strange and obscure jokes that we should actually be given later on in the film as part of the element of surprise. By giving them to us right now, we know to expect them later, and we're probably not going to be laughing any harder. Then we cut to Bill Cosby's white butler scrubbing all his glasses to erase any traces of roofies.
Mr. Parker, whom I have the honor to serve, is a man of exceptional talents, whose 5 previous adventures would, I'm sure, have enthralled you, had they not been confiscated in the interests of world security.
Yeah, I don't know what Bill Cosby was doing in the previous 5 adventures that warranted the world actually locking them up so the public could never see it, but I'll take one guess. Still, let's wait to the end of the film to determine if they would have in fact enthralled us. A guy we don't know is in a pool with a woman we don't know, and some scuba divers we don't know send a fish through a tunnel and pass the product placement of a Coke can to kill him. But it stops along the way to check out a Playboy magazine. Haha, get it, horny fish? I am very certain that Bill Cosby wrote that line because nobody with any respect for women would actually write a female character to be that dumb.
This was, I believe, the first recorded instance of a CIA agent being eaten alive by a rainbow trout.
Are you just here to fill in the gaps in between everything? This movie already feels like it's going to be a series of random skits with this character here applying narration to actually try to fill in the storytelling gaps. That's exactly what The Master of Disguise did. Remember, it didn't work. Honestly, I'm surprised that I'm 6 minutes into this film and I'm already drawing parallels between those two movies, but I do love The Master of Disguise, so maybe this film will be hopeful.
But how do we strike back against ferocious fish?
We blow them off the face of the earth. We've got the capability.
You don't really believe that, do you?
I don't know. Gotta nuke something.
Touché.
Above all, we mustn't panic.
Oh, yes, we must. If San Francisco goes, tomorrow it'll be Oregon. And then the rest of the world.
San Francisco, Oregon, the rest of the world. You really don't understand the concept of progression, do you?
I've only worked with one man who can match the brutality and heinous wit that's behind these sordid and unpatriotic executions.
Mr. Snyderburn, you don't mean...
Yes.
Think about that line. Only Bill Cosby can actually match the brutality of someone who sends fish to kill CIA agents. So what's their plan? To actually send him in and roofie them all and sexually assault them?
I'll send Monroe to get him.
Just look at how many cigarettes are in that ashtray. How many takes did this guy have to do? He was probably smoking more than Notre Dame. We cut to Bill Cosby pouring a substance that he's been mixing into someone else's glass. I don't even need to say it this time. Protagonist Leonard Parker runs a restaurant now, and the agent that they've sent is trying to kill him. And for some reason, nobody in the kitchen seems the slightest bit bothered by this guy pointing his gun at the owner. Yet he still feels the need to put a towel over the gun and silence it. It turns into a series of sight gags where Monroe shoots a bunch of things in the kitchen, which just so happen to knock relevant ingredients into their cooking locations. And the entire time, things just feel very lifeless. There isn't actually any atmosphere in the scene. No tension, no comic energy, just product placement. Some action heroes like to say a cheesy one-liner after their enemy is executed. Leonard Parker likes to create symbolic circumcision.
Why did you send Monroe to kill me?
A good question. For another time.
Yeah, that question actually never gets answered. Did they send their agent to try to kill Leonard to see if he was still up to the task of protecting himself? Or did he just go rogue? I don't think the writers actually figured that out themselves. A bunch of secret agents are getting killed by typically harmless animals.
This is the work of a single heinous organization under the direction of a maniacal and sadistic woman. She's a vegetarian.
Oh, here we go, another movie about the evils of vegetarianism. I'm a vegan, so of course I'm the target for this movie. Yeah, what was the last time I saw a film where vegetarians were evil? Oh yeah, Troll 2, another movie considered one of the worst of all time. You might remember it for having this scene.
Oh my God!
This heinous woman has developed a formula which can control the very mind of every animal.
He said anus.
Yeah, I heard it too.
And we have just learned that in the next 36 to 72 hours, this parapsychotic tyrant plans to launch an all-animal offensive of major proportions against the Bay Area.
How did you learn that information? Are we supposed to just take your word for it?
Why don't you just blow her up?
Because she's an African American, not Iran.
No.
Well, why not, damn it?
I have my reasons.
His wife. She won't even return your phone calls.
She needs time.
It's been 7 years.
If she's not returning phone calls from Bill Cosby, she probably has some common sense. If it's been 7 years, move the fuck on, Jesus Christ!
Did it ever occur to you that coming back with us might just win her back? Come on, bro.
This movie is so desperate to try to be funny that it has a character trip, because that's what it thinks comedy is. You know, just people stumbling.
Leonard, you're my dearest friend, and
You are not remotely my dearest friend, and I have a kiwi tart that demands my immediate attention.
Shut up, Leonard.
The narrator continues to talk, even though it isn't the slightest bit necessary. Half the time he doesn't even connect plot holes, he just tells us things that the audience can very easily deduce. Leonard's daughter has come by, and she's brought all her luggage. So far we've had a dumb woman, an evil woman, and a materialistic woman. Yeah, I shouldn't have expected a Bill Cosby movie would actually perpetuate positive stereotypes about women.
Okay, now what are you and your mother fighting about?
Well, she still refuses to allow me to express myself.
People do not talk like that.
And I am so excited about this play, Daddy.
I can tell. I can see the excitement in your facial expression. I'm very excited as well. See it? See how excited I am?
You're going steady with the leading man.
The director.
Oh, Jesus Christ. An aspiring actress who has to get romantically involved with someone in the entertainment industry to try to boost her profile. Oh, you just did not think that one through, did you, Bill? Bill Cosby does not approve of his daughter being in any kind of relationship with an older man. I mean, I think the age gap is a little wrong too, but see, I'm not a hypocrite for saying that, Bill.
In a few short months, this woman has grown from a callow, insensitive child to a mature,
Johnny, get your father a sandwich and something cold to drink.
Oh, a fourth negative stereotype about women. They have to be submissive to all the men around them and feed them whenever they can. His daughter brings him a surprisingly quickly prepared sandwich and a bottle of Coke. Cosby is even careful to hold the bottle low enough to show the label and then face it towards the camera in the next shot. Fucking sellout.
Must you interfere in my life, Daddy? You're just like Mother. She doesn't believe that I really want to be an actress.
This conversation is very obviously not about you wanting to be an actress. It's about you and your weird fetish for geriatrics. Also, if you want to be an actress, try actually acting for once. You're not doing very good right now, darling.
And being an actress is what I intend to do with the rest of my life, Daddy.
A month ago, you wanted to be a sculptor for the rest of your life. The month before that, you wanted to be a Buddhist for the rest of your life. And the month before that, you bought luggage.
5 negative stereotypes. Women are indecisive and flaky.
I just don't want to be in just the restaurant business. I need to express myself, and I need to experience life at its most raw.
Oh Jesus, do not talk to Bill Cosby about wanting any kind of a raw experience. He will give you one and you will not like it. The entire scene goes nowhere and kind of stops halfway through, but more notably, Leonard doesn't even try to eat his sandwich or drink from the Coke bottle. Not only did that make the explicit product placement all the more obvious, but it makes me think that Bill Cosby doesn't even like the taste of Coke. Then we cut to the evil vegetarian's factory. The villain's name is Medusa, and she's played by the talented Gloria Foster who portrayed the Oracle in the first two Matrix movies. She sends a bunch of frogs to kill an agent who's been doing some surveillance on her factory. Frogs are not scary. Not in this movie, not in the movie Frogs, not ever. Get a grip, Hollywood.
Miss Jones certainly a handful, sir.
I'm afraid she has a bit of a mother in her.
And when the cameras were switched off, I'm sure she had a bit of her father in her.
Cox.
7 years out because of one silly mistake.
Terrible punishment, sir. Even if the girl was only 19.
Oh wow, okay, that's a line that definitely did not age well.
But to be fair, sir, Mrs. Parker did find the two of you naked in the sauna, switching each other with birch leaves.
Yeah, sounds like she had a very good reason not to respond to your calls, Leonard.
I never laid a finger on that girl.
Oh, fuck off, Bill. You've been saying that for years. Leonard takes his daughter's relationship with a geriatric as an excuse to talk to his wife. And after ignoring his calls for 7 years, she suddenly picks up? You'd think that there's a plot twist involved in this, but no. It's just bad writing. This turns into a montage of Leonard working out, trying on different ties, and getting a pedicure, and it feels like the longest 2 minutes of your life. Isn't this meant to be a spy movie involving a guy riding an ostrich and driving a tankmobile? So far, we're a third of the way into the movie, and it's just a very mediocre family sitcom. Leonard goes to meet his wife, who has suddenly set up a romantic evening, and he pours a drink for her. Bad idea. And then she just starts spilling soup on him. Should I be laughing at this? Like, the mood is very somber. Then she shrimps his face. And this is the moment where I finally noticed that this film is really sorely lacking in comic energy. None of the actors seem to actually care about the material, none of the material is actually funny, and nothing about this movie actually feels like a comedy. And at no point do the characters even have any discussion of their daughter's geriatric relationship.
Cancel the grits.
Something told me at a glance that the evening had not gone well.
Oh, shut the fuck up. This is the point in the movie where I realized that not only was I bored, but I was so bored that I was starting to vehemently hate the absolute shit out of this film. Bill Cosby is a horrible excuse for a human being, but once upon a time he was able to make me laugh. Not in Ghost Dad, but I used to love The Cosby Show. Watching this film, this makes me wonder, how did I ever actually think this guy was funny? Nothing about this film suggests that anyone involved actually understands comedy in the slightest. Anyway, because Bill Cosby couldn't get a woman to consensually sleep with him, he goes back to being a secret agent. So that means that the entire first third of the film actually has no impact on the story. Like, at all. He goes to see a fortune teller who doesn't speak any English and just keeps shoving her fingers in Cosby's face. How is this meant to be funny? Every single time the film tries telling a joke, I keep asking myself that question. This cringe-inducing scene goes on for way too long.
I just pound the drum and do the African face.
Leonard prepares for his mission without us getting any explanation on what he's actually going to do, just an extended sequence of him getting equipped with campy gadgets as his butler chants random dialogue. And now that we're halfway through the film, suddenly Leonard Part 6 remembers that it's meant to be a spy movie. Leonard tries blowing up the door on Medusa's factory with a bunch of poorly rendered explosive bullets. How much time actually went into animating that? You could have done that scene without the animation, just with two controlled demolitions like Menahem Golan did in his movies, and it actually would have been more convincing and less of a waste of everyone's time and resources. Oh, well, I'm glad someone's laughing. Leonard continues to try to blow up the door as he does a series of jumps and rolls, ducking from cover despite not facing any impending threat. Eventually, she just lets him in.
Would you like to meet my vegetarians, Leonard?
Vegetarians.
Here we go, finally we get to meet the beings who are inherently evil because they actually give a shit about the welfare of animals. This scene turns into an inexplicably strange sequence where dancing vegetarian villains start half-heartedly attacking him until he starts doing ballet dancing back at them.
The efforts of Mr. Parker, who had worked undercover with the Bolshoi Ballet in Moscow for over 3 years. At this critical moment, this experience was to prove more effective than his firepower.
This is bad comedy.
Great for me.
No. This is a Bill Cosby movie. Let me fix that.
Great for me.
There it is. After that doesn't work, Medusa shoots at him, which in retrospect would have made a lot more sense.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
Anything
him with the boomerang knife.
Oh no! It's coming back this way!
That throwing stick stun of yours has boomeranged on us.
Yeah, let me show you an actual funny boomerang joke from an African-American comedy.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room!
Leonard steals the woman's evil energy sphere and runs home where he begins fishing the bullet out of his shoulder.
You are coming tonight, aren't you?
Tonight?
Daddy, you promised. And tonight's my opening night.
Hitler promised not to invade Czechoslovakia. Welcome to the real world.
You okay, Daddy?
Yeah, taking a shower. The water's hot.
Yeah, she should probably notice that she's not hearing the sound of the shower running. Is she deaf or just really fucking dumb? I'm gonna go with the latter because apparently that's what Bill Cosby thinks of women. We go back to being a sitcom as Leonard goes to his daughter's play, which is literally composed entirely of her dating a white guy before suddenly taking her clothes off on the set of a living room. And it just ends right there. So first of all, that play makes no sense. We don't have any context for this scene. We don't know what's actually happening. She just literally starts undressing for the sake of the shock comedy. And second of all, that woman has no consideration for the feelings of her parents. I mean, her appearing nude on stage, that's fine. But if anyone in the world was appearing nude on stage, it actually would be very considerate of their family's feelings if you said beforehand, oh, by the way, you're gonna see me naked on stage if you come here tonight. This just doesn't make sense. All I could think watching this was that Bill Cosby must really hate his daughters. But then again, that's probably because they refused to drink the wine that he poured for them.
Let me ask you a question.
Leonard, I know the second act doesn't quite work.
I'm talking about my daughter.
Even she can't help that second act.
I'm not talking about saving the second act. I'm talking about saving your life.
Okay, this scene actually surprised me because Bill Cosby finally put some emotion into his character. 56 minutes into the movie, but it's only for a few seconds, and for this one scene, which is over in just a few more seconds. And then Bill Cosby walks in on a bunch of women who are tied up. Oh, that's nice, someone did half the work for him. His wife has been kidnapped and he needs to return the sphere, so he goes to the agency where his own people are trying to use it to control animals. And for some reason that doesn't make sense, he's suddenly learned the phrase that makes them attack.
Well, I think the only thing missing here is to say the word
and then he runs off to leave his team to get killed by a bunch of rabbits. So, whose side is he actually on?
She must be planning to dilute that concentration and pump it into the entire Bay Area.
It's like dishwashing liquid.
I'm sure that's what the prop department actually used. They go and swap it for actual dishwashing liquid, though it's never explained what they do with the apparently dangerous substance itself.
A perfect match, sir.
Except for the obvious bubbles, dickhead. The gypsy comes back, somehow managing to teleport herself into Leonard's car. A woman forcing her way into Bill Cosby's personal space.
Ironic.
She gives him several meat items.
What's this for?
For putting it where you shouldn't. You should be well aware of that, Bill.
I got your ball. Now let me in.
Oh, he just asked for a woman's permission to enter. That's something I'm sure he's not used to doing.
You told me if I brought you the sphere, you'd give me my wife back.
I lied.
Yeah, you're not really that much of a good secret agent, are you?
So, you thought you could fool Medusa Johnson by putting dishwashing liquid into my sphere. So, that was what was in it in the first place, you restaurant spaz. It's not the liquid that makes the magic. It's the molybdenum chromium cap.
First of all, if it actually was dishwashing liquid, then how did you know that they'd swapped it? Second of all, why do you have canisters in there just storing dishwashing liquid if they don't actually do anything? Jeez, are the writers just like trying hard to make everything in this movie as fundamentally pointless as possible?
Hi. Hands off!
Another thing I'm sure Bill Cosby is used to hearing.
In less than 15 minutes, I will switch on these distribution pumps. And the contents of the vats upstairs will flow into every single waterway in the Bay Area.
Hang on a second. I thought all these colorful substances were dishwashing liquid. You were milking dishwashing liquid out of animals, and you're storing it in vats. Is your plan to literally flood the entire world with dishwashing liquid, making sure that no one has dirty dishes anymore? At this point, I would fully believe that that's your plan.
Kill him.
You're right, as always, Andy.
If he's always right, then how did he end up in a wheelchair? Medusa unleashes some angry lobsters on Leonard and his wife, and Bill Cosby sits there frightened as the creature tries to force its way through to his crotch region.
Ha! The ironing is delicious. The word is irony. Huh?
Leonard scares the lobsters off with melted butter. Get it? Because melted butter typically goes with boiled lobsters? It's a joke. Why? Leonard and his wife burst through riding on a horse and foil the evil plan using a vegetarian's worst nightmare.
100% pure beef.
And here we have Bill Cosby forcing his meat on everyone. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a bit of a stretch, me having to turn moments in this film into jokes about Bill Cosby being a rapist, but no, he just kept forcing them on me. See, there's another one. At the same time, this scene serves as a good metaphor for the conflict between meat eaters and non-meat eaters alike. People who don't support the animal agriculture industry have meat shoved in their face all the time because apparently it's funny. Oh, that image right there, that's the stuff of nightmares. Why would a vegetarian just voluntarily eat that? The guy who is inexplicably in a wheelchair comes in guns blazing, misses every shot, and then drowns in a vat of red dishwashing soap. Leonard tosses Alka-Seltzer into the vats, which somehow causes everything to explode and go up in flames, and then he has an ostrich glide him off the top of the building to safety.
Mr. and Mrs. Parker celebrated their reconciliation.
Well, they didn't really actually reconcile anything, they just blew up a building together. We still don't actually know what happened between Bill Cosby and that 19-year-old woman, although it's pretty safe to assume what happened. Why are you still doing this? And why would Leonard spend 7 years pining over a woman whose idea of romantic interaction is literally spilling soup all over his fucking shoulder? Is Leonard Part 6 a good film?
Faced with this kind of pressure, how could he say no?
No.
Leonard Part 6 is one of those movies that just really amazes me that it existed. The fact that Bill Cosby wrote the story idea when he was watching Rambo, the fact that the head of Columbia actually tried to shut the production down of this movie and people said, no, let's keep going ahead. The simple fact that Bill Cosby made this movie and then at the very last minute was like, no, you know what, don't go see this. Just, what was happening? There are few films on this planet that actually lack any understanding of comedy as overtly as Leonard Part 6 does. If you actually look at bad comedy movies, the ones that frequently get rated amongst the worst of all time, you've got movies with insane amounts of comic energy that just keep throwing jokes in your face, despite the fact that they're not funny. If you look at Howard the Duck, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, The Master of Disguise, or That's My Boy, which I personally consider to be objectively a fucking hilarious movie, these films, they all try. They have energy. They try to have some type of comedic atmosphere, even if the jokes don't always land with people. Leonard Part 6, it never fucking puts any effort into anything. Leonard Part 6 honestly feels like you're stuck in an elevator waiting to go to a comedy show for about an hour and a half and you never actually get there. The mood in this movie is more dull and depressing than even the worst Adam Sandler film, and when I say that, I mean The Cobbler, which was incredibly depressing. This is actually worse than that. The entire movie is completely tone deaf and devoid of any comic timing or emotion, and I place the blame for that squarely on the shoulders of Bill Cosby himself. But Cosby blames director Paul Whelan, who actually made his directorial debut on this film. Now obviously that guy isn't the best, but to his credit, you can see him working with director of photography Jan de Bont to actually film things appropriately. Whelan actually says that Bill Cosby took over the role of making sure that everything in the film was funny. He took personal responsibility for the entire sense of humor in the film and would not listen to the director. And Bill Cosby was peaking in popularity at the time. Apparently no one actually had the courage to come up to him and say, Bill, the material's not working, you're not being funny. But even if they did, I'm sure he wouldn't have listened. I do not blame Paul Whelan for this film. He was an inexperienced director at the time, making his directorial debut on this film, but if you were given the chance to make a movie with Bill Cosby, who was the biggest TV star at the time, sure, if the script was shit, you'd be like, whatever, I've been given this opportunity, I'm gonna take it. But Bill Cosby's lack of self-awareness about how unfunny he's really being, combined with Jonathan Reynolds' terrible screenplay, really creates such a mess. Reynolds has written 3 films since then. Switching Channels, My Stepmother is an Alien, and The Distinguished Gentleman. All of them bombed at box office, all of them were critically panned. It's a good thing that he hasn't written another script since 1992. Paul Whelan, on the other hand, went on to direct several episodes of Mr. Bean, one of the funniest TV shows of all time. He also created the TV special Blackadder Back and Forth. This is a guy who knows comedy when he's working in his element, but no one is working in their element with this movie. The Washington Post referred to Bill Cosby's performance in Leonard Part 6 as a comedian of words in a physical role. This reminds me exactly of what I said about his performance in Ghost Dad when he took over the role from Steve Martin. He was playing out of his element. In Leonard Part 6, this is the kind of role that's designed for someone like Leslie Nielsen. Bill Cosby cannot play Leslie Nielsen. But that being said, even Leslie Nielsen will not be able to salvage this film. This is a fundamentally horrible film. At least in the film Ghost Dad, Bill Cosby tried to actually put some degree of energy and emotion into the role. In this, he just gives nothing. He works so fundamentally against the humor in this film that you'd think he's doing the same thing that Eddie Murphy did when he made Beverly Hills Cop 3. And as a side note, evil vegetarians, come on, that's just lazy writing. You know, the film doesn't even try to be clever about it. If the film is clever about it, I'll even laugh at it, and I'm a vegan. I've seen a lot of vegan and vegetarian jokes, and 90% of the time they're the same one repeated again and again. Once in a blue moon, there is one that makes me laugh. Here's my favorite example.
All right, now pretend that this shoe is an unboned chicken, And you're gonna cook it tonight, make a tasty dinner. It's gonna smell all through the house like cooked chicken.
Actually, I'm vegan.
Okay, then pretend this shoe is whatever you people eat. Maybe it is a shoe.
Nice one.
That is how you make a joke about people who don't eat meat funny. This film does not even come close to it. Leonard Part 6 makes Delightfully Devilish history. This is the first time I am reviewing a movie on this show, which I would refer to as one of the worst pieces of shit I have ever seen in my life. I normally try to find a reason to at least give 1 star to a film, but holy fuck, this movie deserves every single thing bad ever said about it. Leonard Part 6 gets absolutely nothing. It is an insanely unfunny vanity project for a convicted rapist that serves as yet another black mark on his once successful career.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And that does it for today's episode of Delightfully Devilish, you guys. If there are any movies you want to see me discuss on this show, please leave them in the comment section below. If you want to see more episodes of this show, please hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, until next time, I've been your host, Jukebox Harry. Peace.